I'm Tim McCosker, and we can call the roll.
Very good. Councilmember McCosker.
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Thank you. We have a quorum. And so we have 11 items on the agenda. I'm going to ask that we take items 1 through 7 and item 11 on consent. That leaves us 8, 9, and 10. And I think the order, I'm going to ask that we take it in order of 9, 10, and then 8. But before we get there to consent calendar, let's do public comment. It looks like I have at least 2 people sign up for public comment. Stacy Bollinger. Go.
So there's no general public comment, is that correct? Because it's a special meeting?
Correct.
Okay, that sucks. To be honest, that makes me feel like a bit of a cunt because I came here wanting to give general public comment most of all. So this...
Okay, so, excuse me.
Thank you.
I'm going to read you the warning.
By all means.
Let's see. Speaker, you have used the C word, which is a violation of Council Rule 7. This is your only warning that the C word or its variations as described or to whomever they are directed in Council Rule 7 may not be used again in this council meeting, any future council meeting, or any future council committee meeting. If you violate the rule again, you'll forfeit your speaking time and could be subject to removal pursuant to Council Rules 7 and 12. Please continue.
Thank you, Councilmember McCosker. So item 11, relative to the feasibility of establishing a legal framework authorizing designated council aide positions to issue administrative citations for illegal dumping violations. Now, this remark isn't directed at any one person, but rather this agenda item, I feel, is a cunt.
Okay, well, there you go again. Thank you very much for testing our rule. Your time is forfeited. You're excused.
So I'm not getting the remainder of my time?
No, that's correct.
Thank
you so much. Next speaker. Do we have anyone else who would like to speak? If so, please identify yourself and come forward. Quickly, since we have business. Oh, come on. I thought I was your favorite.
You're my number one.
Usted es mi número uno.
Well, that's 2 right there.
Number one. Oh, you got Soto faggot over there.
What are you speaking on? Special meeting, no
all
public, no
items
general.
and not non-agenda public comment because it's a special asshole.
Correct.
Yeah, I got it. So, regarding the continued June 18, 2025 fucking bullshit on city layoffs. You know why there are layoffs? Because the fucking immigration motherfuckers don't want to work. No one wants to work for fucking 10 cents. 15 cents is what we want. And the only motherfucking job you're going to get is from Donald J. Trump, the very best president. And put this fucking mic on. Hey, chingados, no oye bien. Entiende, cabrón?
Continue on the agenda item.
Gracias, baboso. So immigration at the Edward R. Roybal Federal Building. If you have a layoff, go there and complain if you're not getting paid your fucking 15 cents. Because that's all you're going to get. These motherfuckers here.
Come back to the agenda item.
What?
Stay on the agenda
I'm talking about layoffs.
Keep going.
All these people in here are employees. They're going to eventually get laid off and get the fuck out of here and get another job. That's what a layoff means. Because if not, you can't promise them a job. Monaco, moo, can't give them a job. And that fucking wetback immigrant over there, whatever the fuck his name is it Soto? Yeah, Soto, drinking his soda. He don't know shit about layoff. He's a fucking pencil-pushing pussy. Just like some other pussy in here that looks good and smells good.
Back to the agenda item.
But fuck item number 9, because I can't say no more. Item number 8, fuck item number 8 too. As far as item number 10, McCosker and that bitch Eduardo, you gotta hire people to clean the fucking sidewalk and streets. Those are jobs. Those are not layoffs. Those are jobs. Real fucking jobs. Maintenance is real fucking jobs. One day I want to be like the rest of you motherfuckers. Worthless, elected officials that don't get these motherfuckers in here after 5 years of service a full pension, full benefits like they do in the city of Industry. For the record, you're number one.
Time's up.
Fuck.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll close our public comment period. We'll then turn to the consent agenda, and my recommendation is that we, on item 1, we approve the exemption. Item 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, we also approve the exemption. On item 6, we approve the Personnel Department recommendation and the City Attorney draft ordinance. On item 7, we approve the Personnel Department recommendation. And finally, on item 11, approve the motion. Are those okay, or do you want to pull any off the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll call the roll.
Very good. Councilmember McCosker,
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
Aye.
Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Yes.
Very good. Those matters are approved.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to recommend that we begin with item 9, go to item 10, and then conclude with item 11. So on item 9, can you read that into the record, please?
Item 9 is continued from a number of dates during 2025 as follow-up reports from various departments relative to citywide layoff management related matters.
Thank you very much. This is, again, a many times continued item, and we're keeping track of the number of positions that are sitting in substitute authorities, and we're tracking the roadshow. I think this is going to be our first roadshow report as to how we are doing in putting folks into the opportunity of transferring out of substitute authorities and into permanent authorities. So I'll let you give the presentation in whatever order you want to speak.
Good morning, council members. Melissa Velasco with the Office of the City Administrative Officer. As you mentioned, we've been reporting on an ongoing basis regarding the ongoing citywide layoff process that was necessitated by the elimination of filled positions in the 25-26 budget. Our most recent data is as of November 20th, which was that we had 245 employees that remain in the substitute authority positions that were issued pending this layoff processing. As you're all aware, the layoffs are currently in abeyance because of some approved agreements with our labor partners. However, those 245 employees are still in positions that were eliminated, and we're tracking them with the goal of trying to move as many of those employees out of those positions as possible before the end of the fiscal year, which is when the layoff abatements would no longer be in effect. And with that, I can turn it over to my colleagues with the Personnel Department who can give you an update on those efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Good morning, Malika Billups, Personnel Department. Since our last report, we have increased by 5 conditional job offers, but we have executed 113 completed transfers. And so we do see that as a success. There are still obviously a number of positions that are still filled that are in substitute authorities, most of which are still in Los Angeles Police Department, some of which are in the Personnel Department. We have some in ITA and a couple of other departments. But we are executing the roadshow, and Steve Rivera is here to talk a little bit about the process of trying to encourage people to move from those substitute authority positions and classifications into vacant positions.
Good morning, Steve Rivera with the Personnel Department. Like Malika mentioned, we did our first roadshow presentation 2 weeks ago. The departments or incumbents that were invited were from ITA, Personnel Department, Department of Disability, and DUN, or Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. We had about roughly 70 people attend the roadshow for the first one, and it was presented remotely online. It was about an hour and 10 minutes long. The first half of the presentation was specific content regarding the agreements between the city and labor, the positions, how to process the applications or how we do process the applications, and essentially encouraging individuals to transfer. We have about 440 positions that we can move people into. The last portion of the presentation was a Q&A. And as you can imagine, a lot of the questions were very specific to individuals about their specific situation. So we were able to handle most of those conversations there, and then some we took offline to give them a little more guidance. The presentation was recorded, and it is posted on our transfer portal. So any individual that did not make it or wants to review what was said, it is there, along with, again, the positions that are currently available. We have an actual roadshow presentation today, right after this PAW meeting at 11 o'clock for LAPD specific personnel. So we're excited to do that, as obviously we know LAPD is impacted the most regarding layoffs. So we are both excited to have this presentation, but also understand the importance of this as well. So after this, we'll see if more road shows are necessary, either this month or the following month, perhaps after the holidays. This one will be remote as well. I can't state how many people are going to attend, but during the next PAW meeting, I can give you a number of how many actually attended and if we need to conduct more road shows as we move forward.
So there, is that it? Good, thank you. So there's approximately 245 folks sitting in sub-authorities. 205 of those are in the police department. So about 40, so the first road show was to a larger population than those 40 sitting in sub-authorities. And did you say that there were 5 more conditional officers that came since then, or what was the relevance of the 5 conditional offers that was?
Yeah, so since we last met, we've had 5 more conditional job offers, but the number of referrals, the applications have gone up significantly. I think we referred almost 14,000 applications. So the work continues to do. It's kind of peaks and valleys in the sense that we refer a lot, and then a couple weeks later is when you start seeing the CGOs come through. So we're hopeful that the numbers continue to go up, and the roadshow is part of that, right? To keep the momentum going, to have the individuals understand the agreement and understand that not only do I need to transfer, but it's convenient or to my advantage if I do so sooner rather than later, because a lot of these positions may not be available in 3 or 4 months. So while they're available, we definitely encourage them to apply and accept.
Okay, but we don't have a sense as to whether we put a dent in those 40 that were our target audience since the roadshow. And it's okay if the answer is no. I mean, the roadshow just happened.
Yeah, we don't have that specific info yet.
Okay. Colleagues, questions? No questions, no comments? Thank you. We are looking forward to finding out how the LAPD, connections go. I mean, my sense, without knowing a fraction of what you know, is that those are more specialized positions, and lateral transfers to like classifications might be hard.
So yeah, we anticipate that. We know which classifications those are that are specific to LAPD, and internally we'll work on some options that we have to transfer these individuals. And our biggest message for them is get your application in if you haven't done so, and let us work out some options for them to transfer over.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. With that, we will hold this item on the desk, and it'll be continued over, and we look forward to the next presentation. Thank you. So, Mr. Clerk, can you read item 10 into the record?
Very good. Item number 10, continue for November 5th, 2025. Motion McOsker Gerardo relative to hiring status in connection with the Los Angeles Convention Center expansion and modernization project.
Thank you so much. And do we have a presentation as to where we heard this item once before, and we held it over, and we went through at least once before, and we went through all the different position authorities, and we got a status on the hiring, and we're looking forward to seeing what progress is made to date. I think your mic might not be on.
Press the button there.
Thank
Sorry
you,
about
Megan.
that.
Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Megan Coddier. I'm with the Office of the CAO. I can provide a brief update on the status of the positions. So at the November 5th committee, we reported that 13 positions had been filled, 9 in Con Ed and 4 in BOE. Since that time, 7 additional positions have been filled or conditional job offers have been extended. 2 within BOE, 2 within Public Works Office of Administration, 2 in the Fire Department, and 1 in the CAO's office. So that brings us to a total of 20 filled positions. I am also joined by departments that can answer more specific questions about the status of hiring in their departments.
Thank you. So can you give us an overview so we know who to ask? What are the remaining positions and in what departments that are unfilled?
Yeah, so I'd say in general, many departments are, working through the interview process, just scheduling the interviews, and I'm not aware of any roadblocks specifically, but scheduling the interviews does take time and working through, just the process of finding the applicants.
And I know we're doing a special right after the holiday, and this is a real crunch time for everybody. We don't have a report as to what those remaining positions are,
Yeah,
unless I missed it.
I can read them off for you.
Please do. Appreciate it.
No problem. Let's see. So within Bureau of Engineering, we have a deputy city engineer that's unfilled. I know interviews are underway for that. An executive administrative assistant 2, a senior accountant 2, a senior civil engineer, 1 senior management analyst 1, and 1 senior management analyst 2. So there's 7 positions that are unfilled.
Okay.
Within Bureau of Contract Administration, there's 2 positions. 1 is a Compliance Program Manager 1, and 1 is a Senior Construction Inspector. Within Board of Public Works, Office of Accounting, there are 4 vacant positions, 1 accountant, 1 administrative clerk, 1 principal accountant 1, 1 senior accountant 2, and that's the vacancies.
Okay, so we have 13 positions yet to fill,
Correct.
and BOE has 7 of those, half of those.
Yes.
Thank you. Maybe if you could stay, maybe is BOE here? Before we get to questions, if you could just give an overview of where we are with filled positions, some have been filled, and where we are with the 7 positions that have not been filled, and whether and how it's impacting the work now.
Yes, good morning, council members. Richard Louis with the Bureau of Engineering. So as a brief summary, as you mentioned, the Bureau of Engineering has filled 4 positions. 7 positions are in the process of either being advertised, being interviewed, offers being made. As the CAO mentioned, 2 conditional offers have been made. 1 of the positions interviews have been held and the selection is being processed. And the last one is the deputy city engineer applications were advertised and interviews are anticipated next week. That leaves 3 additional positions that we are currently in the process for various reasons needing to schedule additional interviews or advertise the positions. And then we are also in the process of looking at a potential transfer process internally of 2 remaining positions. So that's a high-level update of what's going on. The project is continuing to be managed with our resources. We're doing as much as we can, but with these new resources, we'll be able to do better. Is there any questions I can answer?
Are we still supplementing work with consultants?
Yes, we are.
And I know that I have a separate meeting coming up to discuss this, with you all in the mayor's office about the level of consultancy. But is it going up or is it coming down?
It remains the same.
It remains the same. We're static on consultants.
Yeah.
Okay. When we fill these 7 positions, do we see the consultancies going down?
These 14 positions that the Bureau of Engineering has is not going to be enough to manage the process alone. So we will need to maintain our consultant support. I should mention, you've mentioned the existing consultants we have. That's through a contract through the CAO. That's mostly providing support more on a project management side of our division. We are actually needing to obtain more consultant support on the construction management side of the division, and we are in the process of issuing a task order solicitation. We have received proposals and are in the process of selecting and negotiating for that service on construction management. But it is necessary to have these consultants in order to have the resources to manage this project.
Okay, we'll probably ask more about this as we continue to go, and we will, I'm looking forward to the 7, I think we're all looking forward to the 7 positions being filled, and we'll have questions about the level of consultancy, but most importantly, whether we're staying on track with the project, but that's outside the purview of this committee. I was going to ask the CIO to come up before we got to questions. Would you mind? Or
Wait.
yeah, just if the CIO could come on up. I wanted to ask about the CIO position, which is filled. Who and what position was that? Remind us, and who was that?
Matt Szabo, City Administrative Officer. We did hire, we moved a position internally so that there will be a CIO analyst that will be exclusively on this project. It had been managed to this point out of our debt management group, given the significant financial impact that our debt and by the way, I do have a brief update on the bond financing, but it was the staff person that had previously managed the Prop K program. So they will be the principal, but we will still have the same structure. Our debt group will still be involved. Our assistant CAO will still be, Ben Seha will still be reported to, or they will report up through Ben and ultimately to me.
Yeah, okay. The project coordinator position, what's happening with that?
The project coordinator position, the project executive.
Project executives.
So we have brought on the project executive. As I reported last week, it's Jennifer Halstead. She's got 30 years of experience in construction management. She has been working for the past 2 weeks and has been working with both sides to resolve issues. The contract will be with the CAO's office and is in the final process with the city attorney, but she's begun work. She started work as soon as we made agreement to terms.
Great, thank you. Thanks for reminding me.
Sure.
Colleagues, questions?
Yes, I don't know, that previous report just struck me as it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas with the contracts. When we discussed last meeting, Matt, we talked about what similarities existed between the contracting around People Mover, what that looked like in terms of addressing the concerns around cost overruns, cost containment, all of that, how similar or different this oversight structure, procedure, whatnot, how that looks. Do you have any update on that?
I apologize, council member. I do not have an update on that for you today.
Okay. What are the guardrails? Obviously, as the estimates for this situation was unfolding, it continued to grow exponentially in cost. What are the opportunities that individuals, instead of doling out more contracts for different consultants, because I'm already hearing, I'm hearing in the wings about just, I mean, literally, someone, I don't know if it's in the mayor's office or where it is, that they think they're Oprah Winfrey, that everyone gets a little piece of something. Who is point in controlling or authorizing all of the contracts that are being awarded?
If you're talking about contracts related to the project agreement, those were all provided in the project agreement that was presented to and approved by council. That is our contract with APCLA. They are ultimately in charge of not just the principal contractor, the joint venture, but all of the subcontractors. It is it's a
So but BOE is also,
BOE is the project manager from the city side, yes.
right,
But,
so,
but BOE will not be contracting directly with any of the subcontractors. That goes through the PWJV and ultimately APCLA per our project agreement. I'm not sure what other contracts you're referring to. We do have the only contract that wasn't directly contemplated in the project agreement is the contract with the project executive, which we have identified some funds for, initial funds in the project budget, within the project budget, and that is a contract that is directly with the CAO's office.
okay. So is it going to be within the scope of APCLA that they're going to then continue to enable any additional contracting authorities that go out that potentially go beyond what was approved by the council?
So as it relates to cost overruns, the cost of the project, the APCLA is required to deliver the project within the firm fixed price, which was in the project agreement. There are, and what we discussed at length was the potential for relief events, and there are identified relief events which range from the city failing to perform work as the city is required to perform, to force majeure, act of God type events. In that case, there would be relief events or claims for relief, which could either result in additional time, which this project is structured not to provide additional time unless absolutely necessary, or additional compensation. They could be compensation events. That is why we have set aside nearly $500 million in contingency, and that's city-held contingency for those relief events. The reason that we brought the project executive on board is principally to advocate and problem solve, to advocate for the city and to problem solve, so that to the extent that we get to a place where there may be a claim for a relief event, that we could work through that before it becomes a compensation event. Both sides are committed to finding solutions, and there are contingencies, of course, built into the project agreement that APCLA would be required to execute. But that is why we have the project executive to manage those conflicts as they arise, to protect the city from potential cost overruns.
Well, I'm gonna go back to my original question, because I asked this the last time, is I wanted to know how differently this agreement has been structured in the way that the People Mover was structured, because clearly we've seen the cost overruns associated with that project, and I was under, just drawing on my memory, that we had the same or similar stated guardrails to ensure that the project would be delivered on time and certainly within budget, and that has not been the case. So I want to better understand, if we're just doing it all over again, then you're lying, it's a lie to suggest to this body or the council that there are guardrails. And maybe everyone else is subscribing to a lie that I'm not familiar with, but I refuse to be. So I really want to know, the next time we come together, how different it's structured so that the people's money is protected.
Yeah. And Councilmember, you did ask for that, so I acknowledge that, and that has not yet been provided, but it will be provided.
Okay.
Thank you. Colleague, any questions? Okay, great. Thanks very much. We will keep this on our agenda. I mean, keep this on the table. This will come back, and we will be tracking those remaining positions. Looking forward to hearing from BOE and hearing from the other departments as to the hiring up. And I think we will drill into the contracts, probably out of BOE. I think that's my focus, and find out about the EY contracts and whether they're expanding or shrinking. And then you'll be back with you or your representative will be back with this analysis of the compare and contrast and lessons learned from the People Mover.
Yeah. And did you want an update on the financing, or do you want to hold that?
Oh,
for
that
next
would be
time?
great, actually. Yes,
Sure.
thank you.
Sure. So we did successfully close the first bond transaction on November 25th, 2025. It was for $967 million, just over $967 million. As you recall, we were issuing debt in two tranches. The first tranche was issued in just a few days ago. The next bond sale is scheduled for October of 2026 for up to $1.8 billion. The actual interest rate that we received for the first issuance was 4.54%. That is slightly below the assumed interest rate of 4.67%, which was in the documents that you approved when you approved the project agreement. So what that means is that will have an impact to the overall project cost over the 30 years of roughly $65 million. It reduces the annual general fund impact by $2.18 million. So what we approved in full council with the project agreement assumed an $86.7 million annual general fund impact. That is, I'm sorry, the assumed general fund impact was $89 million. And so that reduces it slightly to $86.7 million. And again, the first debt service payment begins in fiscal 29 through fiscal 56. And then we will continue to provide you updates as we have them on this front.
Was that slight but important reduction in the cost of borrowing, was that related to just the market, the cost of money out there, or it had something to do with our status?
Generally related to the market. I will say the takeaway from the sale, it is far, far beyond just a sound financial policy to have a healthy reserve fund. I think the condition of our reserve and our overall fiscal condition is, I would say there is room for improvement between now and when we issue the second larger tranche, the larger sale. It is critical that we continue to build our reserve far above the 5%. Having a budget that assumes 5% to start the year, that is not sufficient. And we need to do better than that in fiscal 27. And overall, what our outlook will be after we adopt the next budget will be a critical factor that could affect the rate we get in October, positively or negatively. As I just said, there was a very slight swing in between the 4.67 and the 4.54, and that yielded a savings of $65 million. So the lower we can get that rate for the 1.8 billion, it could have a significant impact in either direction.
Right, double, actually. Significant, and we could basically double the number since it double the amount of borrowing. When is that tranche expected to be put out?
We would look for that sale in October of 26.
October 26.
Yes, just under a year from now.
Yeah. Not a lot of time to build up reserves, but some time.
Not a lot of time, but how we manage the fiscal 26-27 budget, what that looks like, will be a major determining factor of what our ultimate rate will be.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll hold this on the desk, and we'll move now to item 8. Can you read that into the record, please?
Yes. Item 8, CAO and Los Angeles Housing Department reports relative to staffing plan, responsibilities, and priorities for the Housing Department's Bureau of Homelessness Oversight. This matter is also referred to the Housing and Homelessness Committee and was heard on November 12th, 2025, where a number of recommendations were made modifying the CAO report.
Okay, so H&H heard this, and you're going to present to us today on the slideshow. And I think I do have sets of proposed amendments on this item.
Yes, good morning, Councilmember and Chair McCosker, and also to the additional committee members here today, Rodriguez and Soto Martinez. I am Tina Johnson Hall, and I'm the General Manager of the Los Angeles Housing Department. Our report before you today responds to the City Council's vision for establishing a central entity responsible for managing and overseeing the city's homelessness response. Our original recommendation was drafted to respond to the direction provided in the fiscal year 25-26 budget resolution and various council directives, including a request for a total of 7. And so with that, we included a request for a total of 73 positions for the new Bureau, including the consolidation of 20 existing positions and the addition of 53 new staff. Now, while the city has increased its annual investment into housing shelter and services by almost tenfold over the past 5 years, it has not increased its own capacity to administer, monitor, and evaluate these investments or effectively align programs and spending with the shifting landscape of federal, state, and local resources and policies. So I want to break this down to you to help you understand our current underinvestment into contracting. In fiscal year 2019, LAHD's 6-member contracting team administered just 2 homelessness contracts with LAHSA, valued at $33 million. Contract administration was the equivalent of about 3% of the total contract amount. With that level of resourcing, we were able to timely draft new contracts and amendments, conduct regular audits, monitor contract outcomes, and do site visits to ensure service delivery. This year, that same 6-member contracting team administers a portfolio valued at $900 million across 9 active contracts with LAHSA, of which $250 million from this fiscal year alone. LAHD's contract and administration cost is now equivalent to just 0.1% of the total contract amount. By contrast, the best practice for administration of most of our special funded programs is about 8 to 12%. So the challenges are significant. You don't need a calculator for this.
Not even me.
There you go. While we have contracted with LAHSA to use its expertise, and we do compliment the folks that work there, they've been very good to us. They've allowed us to help implement the city's homelessness programs when it comes to understanding the impact of its investments. The city has largely been operating in the dark with a sufficiently insufficient resource bureau. If we had one that was resourced, can you imagine what we could do? That's why we're here today to talk about it in more detail. So with that, I'm going to, in our report, which is going to be provided by our team, we hope to give you a realistic assessment of the resources needed to successfully meet the expectations and life for the Bureau, but moreover, the vision of the City Council who gave us the directive in the first place. So with that, I will hand the presentation over to my team to provide an overview of our recommendations for the path forward. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. My name is Callie Hardy. I'm the Director of Strategic Engagement and Policy here at LAHD. I have a brief presentation for you all in which we're hoping to contextualize the recommendations that advanced from the Housing and Homelessness Committee as they relate to our original proposal. And we're also joined at the table by Regina Joy Alcazar of our policy and research team, who will be here to assist us with questions as well. So while the recommendations in our report are clearly intended to tie the each individual resource request with the associated responsibilities and work streams expected of the new Bureau. We see that there are really two key critical immediate goals for the Bureau's first year. So first, as General Manager Hall was really alluding to, we're really wanting to focus on improving our processing timelines for our existing homelessness contracts and payments, really appropriately resource that work that we're already doing. And then second, we're seeing as a key goal the need to strengthen the city's ability to conduct strategic analysis, help us evaluate our overall system and performance, understand where our dollars are going, and be able to better coordinate with our system partners to inform our city policy and budgetary decisions going forward. Addressing those two key priorities we see as really the primary foundation that's needed to help us set the Bureau up for success, to be able to continue its work to improve the city's homelessness response. Touching briefly on the recommendations that came out of H&H Committee, they would approve a total of 24 positions for the newly formed Bureau by consolidating 17 existing homelessness-related positions from the Office of the CAO and LHD into the new Bureau, and then create a total of 7 new positions. So as a result, the Bureau would largely be composed of existing staff who would carry their existing responsibilities with them. However, this recommendation would formalize the creation of the new Bureau here at LHD, begin that process of consolidating all of the existing homelessness-related staff into one place. Is set forth the Bureau's leadership, included creation of leadership positions, and then provide some limited additional staff capacity. In order to fulfill all of the responsibilities that we understand are expected of the new Bureau at this time, our staff proposal recommended the staff across 4 divisions that are together intended to achieve comprehensive oversight of the system, recommend and implement improvements to system performance, efficiently track and process associated contracts and payments, and improve our overall system transparency and accountability. I'll start with the Contracts and Financial Oversight Division, which is the team that would expand our capacity to appropriately manage our contracts with LAHSA. This supports that first critical goal of the Bureau that I spoke of. So the LHD report recommended a total of 19 positions for this division, which is necessary to provide the appropriate level of dedicated staff to manage each of the 9 contracts we currently hold with LAHSA and to process associated cash requests efficiently. Based on the recommendations coming out of H&H Committee, a total of 4 new positions would be created, which would provide about half the amount of requested additional capacity. Additionally, 11 existing positions would transfer into the new Bureau along with their existing contract-related workloads. So with these 4 new positions, LHD would have more capacity to process our homelessness contracts and payments. And this would certainly be an improvement over the status quo. However, this will still be insufficient capacity to improve contracting and payment timelines for all 9 of our active multi-million-dollar contracts with LAHSA and to stand up a new agreement structure that would help us to streamline and improve our overly complicated contracting structure going forward. Responding to the second immediate priority for the Bureau is the Data and Policy Analysis Unit, which would analyze and report on performance measures to improve overall system throughput, use the performance results to ensure contract compliance, and recommend investment in policy priorities for the city. The LHD report recommended a total of 12 new positions for this unit to conduct complex data analysis and reporting on policy recommendations, again, to inform our decisions collectively as a city. Of these requests, one new position was recommended to be created by the Housing and Homelessness Committee. This position would support Bureau leadership with advocating for the city's homelessness needs and priorities across at least 15 governing boards. committees and other public convenings. However, this would not create additional capacity that would support our ability to monitor the 35 system improvement indicators, analyze budgetary impacts, lead problem-solving strategies to improve our overall performance, nor support any planning efforts as we move forward. Next, the System Oversight Division is intended to implement and monitor improvements across all of the system program areas. Our report recommended a total of 22 positions for this division, including 6 regional outreach coordinator positions that were proposed to be transferred from the CAO, as well as 16 new positions. The recommendation from the committee would transfer those 6 positions from the CAO and then create 1 new Director of Housing position, which is one of the leadership positions for the Bureau. With that new director position, the Bureau would have leadership to support work to advocate for the city's interests at the variety of regional bodies. And with those 6 transferred positions, they would continue their existing scope, which is largely the coordination of city-funded street outreach programs. However, none of the other principal functions identified for this division have been recommended to be resourced at this time, including the implementation of the system-wide improvements. And then very last but not least was the administrative support. We requested a total of 20 positions that would support the functions of the new Bureau, including accounting, IT, systems, contract procurement, and communications, and other executive support functions that are critical to help support the functioning of the new Bureau. Of these positions, the Assistant General Manager was recommended to be approved by the committee report. And again, that is really creating that leadership for the new Bureau. So that will provide us the ability to have, a central person who is responsible for leading this work and supporting the work to advocate for the city's interests. However, similar to the prior division, none of the other support functions have been recommended to be resourced at this time. And with that, I will go ahead and conclude our presentation. We're more than happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to questions and discussion, I also have the proposed amendment from CD4 and LAHD, which looks to do the following 2 things, essentially, 2 categories: to take the salaries general account and, take the as needed account, the 1070 account, and reduce that pretty significantly, but move the same amount of money into salaries general, and to move portion of the money into related costs to cover a proposal of 3 more positions, 2 senior housing planning economic analysts, and, a senior housing plan, 2 positions that are called senior housing planning and economic analysis, and then 1 position in data analysis, analyst 2, meant to be a cost neutral thing. And I also have some language from the CIO, which the CIO can speak to. Are you prepared to speak to the speak to the CD4 LAHD language?
Thank you, Kelly. My name is Eve Bachrock with the Office of the CIO. If I may start with the amendment from our office, because I have it on top here.
Okay.
The recommendation, or the request is, we would like to amend our recommendation to strike recommendations 2B and 2C, and to amend recommendations 3A to remove references to those recommendations. And that is because at the November 12th, 2025 Housing and Homelessness Committee, the Housing Department made a verbal request to rescind the recommendation to transfer the regional outreach coordinators from the Office of the City Administrative Officer due to the source of funding for these positions. This office supports this request and made these requests to amend.
Okay. In simpler, for my purposes, I'm sure my colleagues understood that perfectly. In simpler languages for me, can you tell me what that's doing?
Yes, the original CAO report recommended to transfer 6 positions from our office.
Right.
Those are the regional outreach coordinators, and this is rescinding that recommendation.
Rescinding that recommendation, which has the effect of what?
Leaving those positions in the Office of the City Administrative Officer.
For what Yes.
To continue to do the regional outreach coordination work that they do.
And the policy justification behind that? Why? Why would we do that?
Because of the funding source, they're funded with HAP, and for various reasons, it's simpler to keep them at our office at this time.
Okay.
So
And housing?
if I may address that question, we actually, it was my recommendation.
Okay.
So we see two challenges with transferring these positions at this time. First, transferring these positions without creating the appropriate staffing infrastructure around them would transfer these responsibilities to LAHD without ensuring that they are appropriately supported and directed internally at LAHD.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one. Number two, we understand that these positions are supported by HAP grant funding, and that funding source is not permanent. Our concern is that if we do this, what we are effectively doing is transferring the people and the work. And then when those folks leave, we are left with the work without the appropriate support of the staff. And so, and then I'll add one other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Transferring those folks at this time may not even be the best for them or us. Because effectively, we are transferring people to appropriate with the approximation on the immediate horizon to let them go without that source. That's not how you treat people. That's not what you do. I would rather for them to stay there where they are well supported, where they are valued, than to have them be disrupted by coming into a new place without infrastructure. I'm worried about the people.
Okay, I'll have questions on that. I'm sure I can tell you will too. But before we get to that, can we speak to what I'll call what are described to me as the LAHD CD4 amendments to the report that have since come to me since the H&H committee acted, that appear to be cost neutral and appear to have a good justification, taking money out of as needed and putting it directly into human beings, which I like. I mean, I personally like, and adding 3 positions so that we would be coming out of H&H, or we would be amending H&H to go to a total of 10 new positions. Can you speak to that?
Yes, this is Callie Hardy with LAHD. So those 3 positions would provide staffing for this data and policy analysis unit, which I spoke of as really sort of the second priority of this bureau. So the proposal would create 2 senior housing planning and economic analyst positions, one that would be focused on policy work and one that would be focused on the data and performance analysis component. And then the data analyst 2 position would also be a member of that data and performance analysis team. So it would really start to phase in providing resources for this team, which we see as an area of particular need, given that there are several significant policy discussions coming the city's way regarding how we manage our investments, particularly given shifting funding landscapes at the county and the federal level. So really providing some much needed capacity here at the city to help us inform our direction moving forward.
Well, without indicating where I'm going with all of this, I am in favor of controlling data, having data we can rely on, because we're making important policy decisions based on data that we don't own or data that we can't verify. But I will turn to questions, because I'm assuming there's a few. Colleague.
Oh, yes, I'm sure you felt me squirming. Well, I think, the first part of it, I want to finally think that there's some rational thinking around what I was vehemently opposed to in this conversation to begin with. What I don't even know where to begin. What was started, as I discussed, or what I called in budget when it went to budget, when we were having this conversation in council, was the rearranging of the deck chairs of the Titanic. At the time, Tina, you said, oh no, we're going to take these CAO positions, and I'm going to translate for you since, You can't, because we know what happens when general managers speak out. But to me, keeping the CAO's folks in the CAO's office is about not wanting to touch the mayor's mess on inside safe contracting. That's what that is. It's also why we wanted to keep in the CAO's office the individuals that were going to, myself, Mr., I believe it was Blumenfield Lee, a number of us were advocating for the maintenance of the centralization of the RV operations to stay in the CAO's office. This is why, colleagues, we don't make policy decisions in budget. This is a mess. This is a big mess designed by the chair of homelessness and housing in the mayor's office in this process that you guys are all scrambling to try and make accommodations for. And trust that when it comes to council, I'm going to start talking about all of this again. Because what hasn't been addressed are the issues around LAHSA. That hasn't been addressed. The committee chair, Ms. Rahman, continuing to sit on the conversation and the motion that I introduced about creating a centralized department on homelessness, because you're proposing all of these, you're back-ending all of these proposed positions. You're talking about transferring from your fundamental primary role, which you're now not doing, because you're focused on this. That is a really big problem. So I get it, you can't say anything, because if you do, you get fired. But we are in a situation where you guys are literally screwing with the future of what we're gonna do on homelessness. We're not gonna get any more money. Let's be really clear. We are broke AF. And so everybody is sitting here moving people around, shuffling everyone around, and you're not making anything more efficient, more transparent, and you're losing your core function as a department. When you're reallocating people to now do this work, you're losing the core function of what you're supposed to be as a housing department. That is why we don't make policy decisions in budget. And that's for every one of my colleagues to listen to when we go through this process again. That's why we have to have these conversations. So I'm very apprehensive. I'm glad we're keeping the CAO folks in the CAO's office. Great. I was opposed for that move from the very beginning. So yes, I'll wear a Te Dije shirt. And I told you so. Oh. And so, sorry.
Popular reference.
I know, just inserting my cultural history here. I have very big reservations of any continued movement when we still haven't talked about what the hell the mayor's doing with with all the existing contracts on Inside Safe since she's eliminated the emergency authority. We have to clean up this mess. It is even worse than where we started, to be honest. And I get it. It's one of these situations, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm just following orders. I got it. But we know how that ended up in the 40s and 50s, right? So can we not do this to the people of Los Angeles? Can we actually just be professionals that have real honest conversations? And if you have to go have an honest conversation with the chair of housing and homelessness about what your primary core function should be as a department, and that before we start making any additional changes to the people, as you mentioned, because I remember saying those words in committee, or in council. We're gonna continue to be screwing around with people, throwing them around in different roles. We are not getting any more efficient, nor do we have any greater clarity and any greater accountability with the public dollars that we have less and less of to address this issue. So I just, I have a lot of issues and concerns around your staffing plan, particularly when we just finished going through the exercise of transfer portals and layoffs and all of this stuff. As I said previously, as just a dress rehearsal for the next fiscal year, where I suspect we're not going to have any more resources. So there has to be some grown-up conversations by members of this council and the policymaking committees around how do we address homelessness, the fact that there are still redundancies in contracts. We could have greater efficiencies if we started bringing people in-house, had the technical expertise in-house, and stop contracting all of that work out, and stop jerking ourselves around with LAHSA. So I really am apprehensive about allocating any additional staff or even in your transfer, because what are you giving up by allocating these, by transferring these positions? What are you giving up as a core function of your department by trying to make this accommodation for politicians who don't understand structurally what this means? Can you help advise me in whatever political and tactful way you want to tell me?
Council member, you bring up some really relevant and material points. I think what we're giving up is we're giving up on the people who really need this help if we don't do something. The department, the challenges that we have within the city is that no one seems to be driving the bus.
Oh, no, there's plenty of people driving the bus.
Well, I mean, I think that's the problem. It's only one bus and you got 18 drivers or whatever the number is. I think having the leadership around coming into one, having that be deposited into one place is very, very important.
A centralized.
And it's centralized.
Correct.
Is correct.
So the housing department, and that's why I suggested a department on homelessness, because I agree. The problem is that hasn't been the core function of a housing department, is to become the department on homelessness. You understand? What is the fundamental core responsibility of a housing department? Can you tell me what you got hired on to do? Was it to do homelessness?
It was not specifically to do homelessness.
It was to do housing.
It was to do housing, but there is no such thing as a bifurcation of housing from homelessness.
There is when it comes to service delivery in terms of functionality. Your expertise, as I recall, was in the financing, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The financing has nothing to do with the service delivery and delivery of homeless services in the city of Los Angeles and the structural deficiencies that currently exist. That's a very different technical expertise. And so that's which I remember asking you at budget time about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand what people are expecting of others, but I don't want to continue to fund the failure. These are not, this is a reckless experiment without having policymakers have the very difficult conversations about what we're going to change structurally and how we're doing this. Because what hasn't changed is the mayor's office still has their hand in running their own program selectively. You're trying to stand up a new one. Clearly, thankfully, everyone saw the light on the CAO move. That was a dumb bunny move to begin with. And that's why many of my colleagues tried to fight that. Thankfully, we're back to square one on that. But before we start making any more decisions, can we just have a comprehensive conversation? Ms. Rahman, wherever you are in the universe, could you please schedule the damn motion so that we can have a single conversation about how we address homelessness and what we say we got to no longer fund. We're going to clean up because we're truly evaluating the functionality of what works and what doesn't. Right now, everyone is still on contract. We're watching federal indictments coming forward because of the lack of auditing, the lack of accountability that's coming related to taxpayer dollars. So I really am apprehensive about continuing to make other staff allocations and changes that are going to leave the department deficient in fulfilling its core purpose, in fulfilling more housing. That's the one thing, that's the one piece we keep saying, we need to build more housing, we need to figure this out, we got to make this happen. But you're distracted with this, without that core expertise. So I just, again, this is, I got more, but I'm going to save it when it comes to council. But
Might come back to committee, you might have another chance.
I'll have another bite at this apple. But I'm also eager to see it come to Housing and Homelessness Committee. That's where the conversation needs to be had. And that's why you have policy conversations in policy committee and not in budget. There's been bigger messes that are made now. And everyone has been distracted by all of this, trying to make accommodations rather than just doing the work, measuring twice and cutting once. That's the way we got to do things around here, folks. Yes, it's harder work. Yes, it takes longer. It's what you get paid the big bucks for. So let's just do the damn work. So I'll save it for the next time. But I'm supportive of this amendment with the CAO staffing. Listen, like I said, it's moving the deck chairs of the Titanic. We didn't have to do this to begin with, but this is where we are. Cool, I support this, and I look forward to actually I'm not supportive of more position authorities and changes without fundamentally understanding how that hinders our ability to actually build the housing and fulfill the core obligation of what this department is supposed to provide.
Do you want to respond? You're welcome to. You don't have to, because I'm actually going to ask the two sets of amendments to come back comprehensively. Member, you have questions?
No.
Okay, so I respect and look forward to that entire discussion. Not necessarily agree with it, but sort of respect exactly where that's coming from. But for the purposes of this committee, we have important personnel decisions to make, and we have two sets of amendments. And I think that having it all, thank you so much, having it all in one place and knowing what we're doing related to the policy, I'm going to ask that with these two sets of amendments, I'd like to move that we continue this item to the next meeting and request that the LHD and CAO, with the assistance of personnel, report back with a revised staffing plan that combines the things that were at H&H that we've since been asked to modify on the auditing data piece, which I support, by the way, and the CIO's amendment. The report back should include a table outlining the class codes, the titles, the number of positions in the staffing plan, as well as a timeline that accounts for positions requiring approval for the Civil Service Commission. Let's not forget them. And let's make sure that we consider the expedited transfer portal and any other relevant hiring or approval processes necessary for implementing a staffing plan should it meet the approval. I mean, I get that there's an issue of we may be opposed to it, we may be for it, but I want to see it all in one place, given the complexities of the personnel aspects for this committee. Is that clear?
Thank you, Councilmember. Yes, it's clear.
So it'll come back, be another bite at the apple. It'll come back. Any questions? With no objection, that'll be the order.
Very good.
Thank you so much. Is there any other business before us?
That clears the desk.
Thank you so much. We are adjourned.